Are you people fucking asleep? Wake up. Hey, everybody. Hey. It's a long day. Good morning, man.
You're on
East Coast
CNBC?
CNBC. Talking bullshit.
Yeah.
What's happening? How are you doing?
Thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
How many people?
How many people are entrepreneurs in the room? Great. Anybody an investor? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. Okay, you're all going to get slaughtered now. I just uncovered you. Founders need 2 things: money and growth. Should we have a real talk about money and growth? I didn't hear anybody else.
Yeah.
Who wants to have like a real candid talk? Are we recording this?
We are. Yeah.
All right, can't have super real. There's a camera. It doesn't matter. We can have a real talk, or we can have a talk. What do you want to have?
Let's get into growth. Let's have a little.
Okay.
Let's get into growth. What's on your mind? Seems like you've come here with some things on your mind.
I always have things on my mind. But taking the work seriously is what I would like to talk about.
Okay.
People don't take the work seriously. There's a lot of people who don't take the work seriously. They just don't work hard enough. They don't have the skills. Investors don't take the work seriously. They're on their iPads during meetings. Founders don't know how to spell or design or write code or market. There's a lot of people who are posers and weak in this game right now. We have a lot of tourists. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of startups being made, but I gotta say, half the people are not taking the work seriously. 100% taking it seriously.
Yeah.
Check, check. Okay. 100. I'm sure 100% are taking it seriously.
They're suffering through 100-degree heat to listen to you.
That's cool. That's cool. It's hot. I took my game off. What do you want to talk about?
Define taking it seriously. Is that just the number of hours put in? Is that hustle, like we just heard Jeremy, describe? What does that mean?
That guy was smart. He had some good on-point suggestions. I think a lot of people want to have a private jet, and they want to have a big office and a lot of people working for them, and they want to have a startup, but maybe they're not actually as serious about this as possible. How many people have put payroll or their office rent on their personal credit card? How many people have done that? Those are the motherfuckers I'm talking about. Those are the entrepreneurs. You guys are the ones who do work. That's when it gets real. That's when it's real. Who had their hand up? You had your hand up? This guy had his hand up. How terrorizing was that?
Terrorizing.
That was scary shit. Yeah. Was that this month?
No. You better not.
I can tell you the number one reason why a company goes out of business. What's the number one reason a company goes out of business?
Run out of money.
Wrong.
Wrong, okay.
100% wrong. That's the wrong answer. The reason it's the wrong answer is because I have seen many companies, like these motherfuckers, whose company went out of business, or would have gone out of business because they ran out of money, but they didn't give up. I have seen many founders go to zero, and they did not give up. They just kept grinding it out. Negative. They were negative. People had balances on their American Express. Balance, and American Express takes that shit seriously. Visa, MasterCard, they'll give you a little leeway. American Express, be careful. I know this because when I did my first business was Silicon Valley Reporter. Anybody even know what that is? Okay. So that was 1995. I started a magazine on the internet.
Try that out.
Yes. That's all right. How about this one? Check. Here you go. All right. Professionalism. Turn that one off. My first 2 investors, Visa and American Express. I get people who have raised money, I've invested in their companies, and they don't send me updates. I have people who I haven't invested in. This guy's doing an IT business. He sent me more updates about his business, and I haven't given him the money yet. And then I said to this crybaby company, Y Combinator, Super entitled, Y Combinator. Think we could give an update to the investors? And they're like, sure. And they said this bullshit update with no revenue, no runway, no cash in the bank. I'm like, where's all this other information? They're like, oh, that's proprietary. I said, like the money I gave you to grow this business? Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Like, how am I supposed to help you if you don't give me updates on the business and you don't give me, oh, well, you know, you don't actually have those rights. I was just like, oh my goodness. You're right, I don't have those rights. How about you give me my money back and you rip up the convertible note with my signature on it and you take your shares back and get me the fuck out of here. Because you're not taking the work seriously. I'm here to work. I want to win. But winning means we talk about how this business is actually going. Guess what? All these businesses are awkward and failing and duct taped together for the first couple of years. All of them. Airbnb, Uber, Tesla, these companies were a fucking mess in the first 2 or 3 years. I know. Because I was either an investor in them or friends with them. Like, I watched it up close and personal. It's always messy. That's why you need to have the best people around you and keep them informed and work together to try to solve these problems. You know how slim the odds are? 8 out of 10 of these companies go to zero. 9 out of 10. I'm talking about the ones here in Silicon Valley that get funded. It's a crazy pursuit. The idea that you're going to start a business, you're going to start a business? You started a business? I'm watching you. What kind of crazy motherfucker starts a business 8 out of 10 times is going to fail? That guy started one, I can tell. I can see in his eyes. Because the good news is, if you take the work seriously and you learn, and you do 3 or 4 businesses, one of them is going to work. That's the game I'm in. I'm investing in founders over 2, 3, 4 companies. I'm here to do the work. But a lot of these people are not doing the work. They're going to Web Summit, checking out Dublin. They're on the Web Summit cruise. How many people went on the cruise? Anybody went on the cruise? Be honest. Any of y'all went on the Web Summit cruise, Summit series? You weren't invited? Good. Good. When you get invited to that shit, that's when you're cruise. People email, like founders email them, I've been selected to come to Web Summit. Oh, really? How much is it going to cost for you being selected to come to Web Summit? Only $8,000, Jason. What? You don't have product market fit? What's your customer acquisition cost? What's customer acquisition cost? What the fuck are we talking about here, people? You're going to Summit at Sea, and you haven't figured out what your lifetime value is, the cost per customer to acquire them is. You don't know what your growth channels are. I mean, come on. What the fuck are you doing in Dublin? Luxembourg, paying $8,000 to be part of Startup Alley at TechCrunch Disrupt. Fucking stupid is this shit. What are we talking about here? The companies that succeeded were the ones where the founders stayed fucking home and worked and busted their asses 12 hours a day, 18 hours a day, suffering and hustling to figure out how to provide massive value for their customers. I am reading some serious bullshit in decks. If the first $500,000 in seed funding, you didn't figure it out, something's wrong. You should have figured it out by now. Do you have any questions?
Get back to work.
Yeah, I think everyone should clear out now. Get to the rest of the
It's okay.
session.
No, we can have a real talk here about it. But go ahead, do you have a question for me?
No, that's good, that's good. So, you were involved with Disrupt years ago, right? Am I mixing things up?
Mike and I were partners on TechCrunch 50, which was my idea. We had a company together, then he screwed me over. Then he got himself in a bunch of trouble. And then he ran to Portland or Seattle or something. He was hiding. But he's out of the industry. He's not important. There are a lot of bad people in the world.
What was the question?
See, I don't need to do my work here. I kind of like this. I could just tee up little.
But once I cut that dead weight, the launch conference, launch festival, all the shit I was doing got easier because I had to stop apologizing for Mike's bad behavior. He was very mean to people. He said very nasty things you should not say.
especially the women. It's bad.
Okay, anyway, let's keep this on a
You
positive note
you
here.
asked the question. I told you I am in blunt, honest mode.
How many people here have been to Launch Conference, Jason's conference here? So quite a few. And how many have, anyone been on stage at Launch Conference or been, we've got one, okay, cool. How about
But
that?
here's the question. Did any of you have to pay for your ticket? Raise your hand if you paid for the ticket. Not one hand. I'm proud of that. A couple people paid. That's okay. You can pay to come to the dinner or whatever. I always said, thank you. I always said if I ever made it, I would try to give back and try to make the industry just a little bit more open, because I was an outsider from Brooklyn. People really didn't want me in the industry. Many people don't want me in the industry now, for that matter. And I said, fuck it. If I ever can make like an event, and I'm going to try to let people come for free. And last year at this launch festival, we gave 250 startups a free table and 5 free tickets each. We gave away 14,000 of the 15,000 tickets. And yeah, I didn't lose money this year. I just do it to break even. But to try to open up the industry and make it accessible to everybody. Everybody. Rich, poor, white, black, female, Latino, whatever. However you define yourself. I want everybody to be able to come. And then somebody said, Jason, how come you don't have more of this group of people there or this group of people there? And I said, the tickets are free. How much more inclusive could I be? And they still started giving me a hard time on Twitter, and I said, all right, I'm going to think about that.
Busing people in from
Different areas.
somewhere.
It's interesting you said that, because then what I said was, I told my team, I was like, you know what? In every hater's comments, there might be a kernel of truth. And there's some jaders out there. There's some people who don't like me. I can rub people the wrong way at times. And, you know, usually it starts something like this, like, Jason, you pompous motherfucker, you are talentless, you got lucky 7 times, go fuck yourself, blah, 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 blah. Here's something that you should consider that would make you even better at what you do. Go fuck yourself, fuck you, kill yourself, love bomb, and whatever it is. But it's pretty funny because in that middle you find that kernel of truth. So anytime you have that pissed off customer, there's something in there to take from it. And so what we actually did was, I talked to my team, I was like, you know what? We got a lot more women on the stage, we got people of color, we're really working on this. How do we get more people in the audience? And then we just went to all these different organizations, Girls Who Code, Black Girls Who Code, Latino, you know, entrepreneurship groups, and we said, hey, we want to give you 50 free tickets. Will you bring people? You should come for these reasons. We actually did outreach to groups that are not represented and told them explicitly, we really want you here and we're going to give you free tickets. And they're like, what's the catch? And I was like, there's no catch. Just come and just like enjoy it and learn. Because nobody gets there alone. That's the big lesson I learned in my career. Nobody gets there alone. No matter how good you are, whether you're Elon Musk, whether you're Zuckerberg, or you're Travis, nobody gets there alone. You're as good as the people around you. I have good people around me.
Cool. We have, I think, had demo tables back when you were at the design warehouse. We had a demo table. Got a bunch of interns out of that. I finally did pay, so I'm maybe the only one in this room who paid for a demo table at the last one. But it's a good event. It's a good event.
That was about 4 years ago. We used to charge just whatever the cost was. Then as we made more money from sponsorships, we just lowered the price and then made it zero.
And when's the next one? It's in February?
We're going to have Launch Scale, which is how to raise money, how to grow your company. We're going to give 1,000 founders free tickets. And it's going to be November 14th and 15th, launchscale.net. If you want to come, just apply. The Launch Festival will be in March.
Cool. So let's take a more focused chat, because I do want to get through some things about what you're doing and talk about syndicates and whatnot. So you have your incubator, you have the launch conference, we've talked about that. Is the incubator, that's an ongoing thing, right? That wasn't a...
Yeah, I'm doing it like 2 or 3 times a year, 7 companies, Thursday nights. We did Wednesday and Thursday, and I personally spend about 75 hours with each company. I put 50 grand in myself, at least, sometimes more. I syndicate them. When they get syndicated, they pick up another 150 to 750, but typically 200 or 300. And then you guys follow me on Twitter or my blog, and you see me saying, hey, check out this company, check out this company, check out this company. This could be the next Uber, this could be the next Uber, this could be the next Thumbtack. And I hustle as hard as I can for them to help them grow. And during my incubator, every company gets up every week. They present their company, and I bring 5 investors. So by the end, they've met at least 50 investors. Then we have a demo day, we bring another 50 investors, and then I syndicate it out to another 600 investors. And if they can't raise money by that point, there's probably something wrong with the idea, the team, me for picking the idea and the team, or, and this is dead serious, it could just be too early for the investors in the world to understand your idea. 17 of the 20 people I introduced to Uber did not invest in the seed round. 3 of them did. I have all the emails. They're all going to be in the book. It's going to be glorious for some people. It's going to be brutal for others. Oh,
Any names right now?
Well, I mean, I introduced Sequoia to the greatest venture capital firm. I introduced them to Uber, and they couldn't get their heads around it. I introduced them to Thumbtack. Sometimes you miss. Nobody bats 1,000 in this business. They hit Apple and Cisco and Google and YouTube and WhatsApp and almost everything else. So can't blame them for not hitting 1,000. They're doing just fine. But yeah, a lot of people just couldn't get their heads around it because it was a dirty, hard, real-world business. And boy, has a lot changed.
Sure.
But back then, people did not want to be. One investor told me, I'll invest in Uber if you can convince Travis to make it enterprise software and sell it to the cab companies. And I said to the person, number one, the cab companies are the enemy. We're trying to eliminate them because they're taking all the money and they don't need to be there. Second, that is the stupidest idea ever. I will not embarrass you by bringing it to Travis. Like, don't ever repeat that terrible idea to anybody. I'm not putting it in my book, but I won't tell anybody.
I can't wait for the book. So, but you were a scout with Sequoia, right? Isn't that how you?
I was the scout. I was the first scout. That's how I started angel investing. It was Ruloff from Sequoia said, hey, I have an idea. If we gave you some money, would you invest it in companies? And I said, what's the catch? He said, well, we'll split the returns with you. I said, what's the catch? I said, nothing. We don't do seed investing, so it's give us like an early warning system. So my first 4 investments were Uber, Thumbtack, Chartbeat, and Signpost.
But that was Sequoia's money, yes?
Yeah, but we split the returns.
Okay.
It's a pretty good deal. Like, venture firms get 30% of the return with their LPs. They came up with an even juicier deal for the scouts. Because it was, who gave a shit? It was 50K, 100K, 25K. It wasn't like big dollar amounts. But Decacorn, Unicorn, 2 senators. Senators? Centaurs? Senators? Centaurs. Yeah. 2 9-figure, 1 10-figure, 1 whatever. Who knows? We'll see.
Is that half man, half horse? What is that?
Yeah, something like
Okay.
that. I got lucky 4 times in a row.
So, what else? You have the syndicate. Well, actually, I wanted to ask this. You have started this incubator. Why even bother, right? You have a lot of accelerators and incubators out there. Is this purely deal flow for you? What's the point? Why does the world need another incubator? Why did the world need another incubator?
The world doesn't necessarily need one, but I enjoy working with founders. I like trying to figure the business out. I like writing the first check or the second check. And I like believing in things that other people don't see. So I could have been a VC. I could have worked at one of the big firms and wrote 1 check a year and gone to Aspen for 2 months and Hawaii for 2 months. I don't know why I didn't do that. It's so fucking easy.
You're having more fun. I can
But
tell.
yeah, it's like, you know what? Kind of like working in the hardest part of all this, which is the first 2 years is so hard. Anybody can be like, oh yeah, this company has, $1 million in revenue a year, $2 million in revenue a year. Fuck you, no, come back with 3. Like literally, this is what they're doing VCs right now. They're like, how many people have a company that's making over $25,000 a month and VCs say you're not ready for a Series A? Exactly. It's just like, what? I'm not ready? Okay. Then you come back to them, we have 50. They're like, yeah, you know, I got 3 other guys with 75K, and these 2 other ladies, they got 100K, and I'm not funding them. They really can wait and do 1 bet a year. So you better be like, awesome. And, you know, I have to figure it out based on like looking in your eyes, like, are you gonna give up? Are you gonna like fight like a dog and make this work? Are you gonna like hit the wall and then like get up the next day and run your head back into the same wall and do that 100 days in a row till it knocks itself down, or walk around it? Like I need people, I have to read people. That's why I play cards all the time. I gotta just like study people and figure out if they have what it takes. Most people do not have what it takes. That's all I gotta do is figure out if you're just gonna give up or not. How resilient are you? Why are you doing this? And if I spend 50 or 75 hours in my incubator, I figure it out really quick. Really quick.
Okay, so it's a structured way to kind of do your due diligence on the personalities of the founders.
Also, I learn a lot. You know, every week I have 5 investors come, look at 7 companies, and give their candid feedback. So I'm sitting there and I'm witness to this over and over again. Like, I'm really about trying to become smarter, because I was a 71 3-year average at Severian High School in Brooklyn. They told me all my report cards and parent teachers meetings. Like, Jason does not apply himself. If only Jason applied himself, he would be fabulously successful at what he did, but he does not apply himself. Now they want me to put a building. That's all right. Yeah, no, guys, I don't really want to put a building in, but then I realized I don't work hard enough. Like, maybe I gotta apply myself. And like the incubator is my own way to work harder. Every week, sitting there for 3 or 4 hours, trying to make the company just a little bit better, trying to get them a little bit more angel investing, try to learn a couple more techniques. That's why I do This Week in Startups, like 104 episodes a year. We don't take a week off for vacation. When it's Christmas, the week before Christmas, we do 4 episodes. And it's July 4th, the week before, we do 4 episodes. My team's like, you're an animal. Why do you want to do 104? I'm learning so much by sitting there with other entrepreneurs and investors and journalists trying to figure this business out. I just want to learn. I want to be good at what I do. And if you talk to people smarter than you all day long, you're going to become the smartest guy in the room eventually. Even if you don't have the raw knowledge, right? Like my IQ is going to be less than most people in the room, but I got more information than everybody here. Like, even if you took the top 5 people's information here, put it together, I probably have more than those 5 people's information. Because all I do is talk to people smarter than me all day long. I take 20 pitches a week. 20 smart, motivated people tell me, here's where I think the world should go, and why. Then I just sit there and I take notes. Then I try to come up with 2 or 3 really good questions. I ask them those questions, they answer them as candidly as possible. I take it really serious, the position I'm in. Because I was on the other side of the table. I know what it's like to just need that 50K or 100K to get the business to where it needs to be. I've been there. I know how important that meeting is. I take it seriously. I book an hour. Every time I meet with the founder, I book an hour. My assistant booked 45 minutes today. Spent the last 5 minutes apologizing to the founder because I was like, I'm sorry I didn't give you a full hour. He's like, you kidding? Most of these investors give me 20 minutes and they're on their phone and they show up 10 minutes late and they leave 10 minutes early. And they don't even know my name. You gotta take the work seriously.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about your pipeline and your syndicate. I want to touch on syndicates because I think syndicates are an interesting phenomenon. You have, how many backers do you have? You have 4 million in pledges. What's that mean?
Yeah, so we've done more syndicates than anybody. We don't have the biggest one. Gilpin-China has the biggest in terms of the dollar amount. They all kind of net out to the same though, because on an SPV, a special purpose vehicle, you have a limit of 99 investors. So that's the most anybody can have. If all of them put in 5K on average, or 2K, or 10K, you can just do the math. Most of these syndicates probably do 150 to 300K. It's kind of replaced early stage VC. What happens is if you get 50 of these, up and coming angels who are putting in 3 or 4K, the great thing for the founders is it's one name on your account. Anybody have a syndicate invested in their company? Nobody. One person. 2 people. What happens is you get one item on your cap table. That means you only have to get one signature. So you got to get Gilpin-China's signature, or my signature, or whoever's signature, when you have a decision to make, like raising more money. But you get to update 50 investors. And what I found is the investor who put in 2K sometimes puts more work into it than the investor who put 250K in. And when you think about it, it makes logical sense. The person who put in 2K or 5K, they're probably a hustler who, although they have $1 million or $10 million or whatever it is, they really care about this investment. They're trying to learn to be an angel investor. They're putting their heart and soul into it. Whereas the person spending 250K checks might be worth a lot of money and not give a shit. It's not material to them because they already made their bones. And so you have these 40 or 50 people to email and say, hey, we really want to get into Disney and we really want to get into, J.J. Abrams and talk to them about Bad Robot. Does anybody know how to get Kathleen Kennedy? And J.J. Abrams is a real story about a real company. And it was like 5 people raised their hand. I know this person at Disney, I know this person at this company, I know a partner here, I know this person who produced J.J.'s other TV show. Like, all of a sudden, we got 3 emails going into J.J. Abrams' office and problem solved for this piece of software that Hollywood's going to use. So I think they're absolutely fantastic. Of course, 2.5 years ago when I started doing them, and I was the first person to do it on Angellist, and all credit to Naval and his team, they really built an amazing product. Everybody said, oh, that's bullshit, that'll never work. And I was like, why not? And it's like, because it threatens my business? Yeah, I did 45 in 2 years for $14 million. Like, it's a real thing. It's a very real thing.
You're doing 45 a year? Or
I did 45 in the last 2 years, and I think it equals $14 million right now. And they have, I think Cruise in the $100 million round, people were able to invest in Cruise, so they probably will get a 6x in cash and maybe 10x. Ultimately, I didn't do that deal, but you're going to start to see those exits. And once somebody hits an Uber or a Thumbtack or something material and people get 100x on their money, you're going to see a lot more getting into it. And then the really interesting thing is, I don't know if you've seen Republic or Seed Invest, Startage, and a bunch of these doing Title III, which is civilians, non-accredited investors, which is 97% of the United States, people who have under $1 million in free net worth or under $300,000 or $400,000 in salary every year, they're going to be able to put some money in. And that's going to get super interesting because you can take your client list of, hey, here are the 1,000 people who buy our webcam, that's a really smart webcam, or our wearable device, and we'll tell them, hey, in addition to having done our Kickstarter, would you like to own a share in the company or 10 shares in the company? And it's a little bit kludgy right now, and the companies are kind of the, I don't want to say the loser brigade because I don't want to talk bad about companies, but they're the people who can't raise funding from the traditional sources, so therefore it's kind of got a negative signal. This is the funding of last resort for people who can't raise the normal way. But
you're not talking about syndicates right now, you're talking about more the crowdfunding.
Title III.
Yeah.
Title III. You have a question, go ahead.
Do you also consider Kickstarter or Indiegogo or any of those others also second tier?
Question is, do you consider Kickstarter or Indiegogo second tier? Well, Kickstarter has tighter controls than Indiegogo, so Indiegogo is going to have more of the flameouts. Kickstarter has, I think Indiegogo, anybody can really put their stuff on there, and Kickstarter, you have to get past everything. But
Like as in comparison to the groups that you're talking about.
I think it's actually a really good thing to do in combination. So Pebble, after they had money from Charles River Ventures, still went out and put their 2.0 on there. It's really about marketing and proof of concept and getting some funding. And it's just about getting early customer orders. So if you're building a product, unless you're scared of your customers, which I would say about half of founders are, they're scared to actually talk to their customers, to actually know if they're providing value to their customers. Well, because what if you find out the truth? And the truth is, like, you don't provide a ton of value, you're not essential in the world. Like, you gotta work harder, right? So it's ignorance is bliss. So what I love about Kickstarter is when I ask somebody who's doing the hardware product, like, oh, you're gonna crowdfund this? And I'm like, no, we're not gonna do that, we're gonna just, release it. And it's like, we're not Steve Jobs, and we're gonna just release this into the world and spend $5 million and, find out then if people like the value proposition. Like, why wouldn't you spend $50,000 or $100,000 on a campaign, a video, a prototype, and then test it with the world? It's fear, being illogical. It's illogical to not test things. The lean startup movement and testing is what's made all the gains. How many people know what NPS is? Raise your hand if you know what NPS is. It's okay if you don't. Great, like a third of the room, half the room. There's a group of companies that are building their company, knowing which people are the promoters of their product, which ones are the detractors, and which ones are indifferent. And they're meeting with those companies and doing research. And this is what I do in my incubator, is we really try to do the science behind the startup. And If you don't do the science, and you don't have these latest techniques, and you don't have these latest skills, guess what? You're up against people who do have it. So I was joking about Y Combinator before because of the entitlement, which is an issue. But the truth is, these people are also cutthroat about growth, cutthroat about using the latest tools and techniques and taking a scientific approach to it. So they're very good at what they do. You have a question?
Yeah, question. Now that you're talking at the other end of the spectrum, how do you feel about corporate VC or great incubators as well? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, corporate VC is traditionally considered dumb money by the professional VCs. But the truth is, they're not dumb. They have a different agenda. So the agenda of VCs, pure VCs, is to get maximum return, defined as cash on cash. We put in 10 million, we got back 10 billion. We put in 10 million, we got back 100 million. Whereas somebody from Microsoft or Intel or even Slack's got a fund now, or whatever it is, their goal is to make the big money printing machine more valuable and more defensive. So corporate VC is great for founders because they don't care about the returns, they can pay a higher price. It's only problematic if you give them some kind of special terms, like they can buy the company or get first right of refusal. You never want to do that nonsense.
You're obviously pretty close to Travis and early on Uber, and mentioned that the founder is what matters in the angel round. Can you talk about what kind of those characteristics you are and how maybe you met Travis and judged him off the bat?
Yeah, so I knew Travis because when I was a journalist, I interviewed him at a live conference in about a room this size when he was doing Scour. We remained friends when he had a second company, Red Swoosh, which was doing peer-to-peer video, sort of like a CDN, a peer-to-peer CDN. And I was on the Embarcadero. He was coming out and said, "Can I show you what I'm working on?" I said, "Can I invest?" He said, "Sure, do you want to see what it is?" He said, "Yeah." He showed me Uber Taxi. I said, "That's great. Can we just call it Uber instead of Uber Taxi since it's Lincoln Town Cars?" He said, "Yeah, we're already doing that. We're negotiating to get the Uber.com domain." I was like, "Did you see the social network? Like, did you see Sean got credit for that? Can I get credit for that in the Uber movie?" And he goes, "Sure." I was like, "Okay, good deal. I'll invest." Relationships is what it's about. I got lucky on that one. But Marco from Thumbtack, his parents invested in Thumbtack. I met with him. I had him at one of my little open angel forums, which was a little, forum I used to hold at my house or my office with 10 angels and 5 or 10 companies. And he just had a big neon sign above him that said, "Winner, invest in me." And I just saw little nuances in his product execution that I knew was clever. And so I look and I just try to determine, do you have grit? Are you a killer? Are you a murderer? Do you want to win? Like, are you that type of person who just really wants to win? And then I look at your execution. Because you could be like aggressive, and I want to win, and I want to, and then if you execute like an idiot, and you suck at execution, well, empty can makes the most noise. Like the reason I pay attention to you as you spiral out of control and go out of business, that's it. So you need to have both of those things flipped on for me. But I don't care about the market or the product necessarily, because my thesis is a smart person who executes at a high level will realize they're in the wrong market, or that the market's too small, or that the market is going away, or that the market sucks, or it's too hard, or it's too competitive, and they'll pivot into something else. Or they'll realize this product is not the product is this. And that's exactly what happened with Thumbtack, my second biggest investment. I invested when that company was a $4 million company. I read it's over $1 billion now. And, Marco's first idea was like a directory, like a Yelp of businesses. And then he figured out a bunch of stuff, and then Sequoia wound up doing the B round. After passing on the angel round, passing on the Series A, they did the B. Because he figured it out. So, there's big VC firms that figure out if the market is right. It's above my pay grade. I don't know how to figure out market. I didn't go to Harvard or Stanford or get an MBA. I don't know any bullshit about how to build a model. But I do know people.
So for the folks in the room that are killers who can execute, how do they tap into your stream of investing? How do they get?
Yeah, I am focusing in on people who can get to, let's call it $5K a month of reoccurring revenue, maybe upwards of even 50, and who are executing at a high level, maybe have 2 to 10 people in their company, but they can't get the Series A, and maybe they're not growing as fast as they want. Because right now, I have the skill set and the network and the connections to solve two big problems for people who have that profile. So you have to know how to apply your skills in this world, I believe. And so I know I can get people with Series A because I'm kind of like the point guard here in Silicon Valley. Like, I bring the ball up court, I pass it to people, and they're like, oh, Jason's passing the ball. He's going to put it right in my hands where I like it. He's not going to give me a bad pass. So I have a reputation amongst the VCs for like, if Jason's invested, this is not going to be an option. And not only is he invested, but he's writing me a personal email about why he invested and why this is a good fit for me, which I take the time to do. Then someone like Bill Gurley or Roloff or Chamath, they're going to take the meeting. And if they take the meeting, they're going to take it seriously if I send them. So I know that. So then it makes me work twice as hard to have really serious entrepreneurs working with me, because I want to have a reputation of a nice, crisp, clean pass to Kevin Durant, dunk it, kick it out to Klay Thompson. 25'3", and so the point is, I'm looking for those type of companies because I know how to grow their revenue 5 or 10x. I know how to get them in the room with the right VCs and get the Series A closed. And I know how to get them focused on what matters because I've watched it now through 150 investments. I see people get to 5K in revenue, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to Web Summit. Oh, I'm going to Summit at Sea. I got to buy. And then I'm like, what about you got 5K in revenue? Let's make it 50. And they're like, yeah, totally. Right after I get back from TED. And it's like, guys, you got so many people get like halfway. They get to like the 50-yard line, or they get to the 30-yard line, or they're in the red zone. And fumble the ball. You gotta put the ball in the basket. You gotta convert the easy layup. So many people get like those first 3 customers, and like get the first 3 customers. Let's build 7 more features, and let's get a new office and put some fucking neon and get some. Once the founder starts like going on tours to like find a new office and pick the desk furniture and meet with the architecture, that's when you know the company is fucked. The only thing the founders should be doing is talking to customers, hanging out with the product and developers, and making the product better and more valuable for the customers. I know this because I've fucked it up myself so many times, and I've watched so many people fuck it up. And so I can sit there next to the founder and say, I know you want to go to Dublin or Luxembourg, or you want to be at Summit at Sea, and all your peers are going to be there, and you're going to get to see Wyclef. Like, watch the fucking YouTube video. Like, there's a million videos. Like, if you give Wyclef, whatever his name is, 50 grand, he's showing up for your tech event. Nobody gives a shit about, what's his band? Let's get it started. Like, who gives a shit? Like, no offense to that fucking guy, but like, he's at every fucking event. You don't need to go talk to him. He's not going to change the world for you, right? Like, focus on the 3 customers who love your product. Figure out how to get twice as much money from them. And find out who their 3 friends are who work in the industry and get to 9 customers. It's all that matters. Is that a certain group of people love and use your product. If you're doing anything but talking to the customers and people who consume your product and love it, you're making a mistake. That's all there is. Everything else is secondary.
Okay, so we've identified the profile of companies.
Take the
Folks
work
who can
seriously.
execute.
Yes.
Murderers who talk to their customers constantly, and play football, get it past the red zone, and
Don't fuck it up. Don't get distracted.
But how do they get in front of you? I think we haven't.
Oh, that's super easy. Getting in front of me is super easy. If you send me an email that's short with a link to your product, and you have a graph of like, here's my customers in like 2 or 3 months of like growth, I'm gonna hit reply. If you send me like a long essay about your childhood and all your fucking ideas, I'm a busy guy. I get 500 emails a day. I'm gonna like read through it and look for how much money this business is making, who the customers are, whatever. And it's like, I grew up in Kansas, and my first company fell for this reason. It's just like, the best email I ever got was Dyn, which is a DNS routing company. Anybody hear of Dyn? Anybody use Dyn? A couple of people. I get this email like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Hey Jason, we're big fans of your podcast. We have a startup in New Hampshire called Dyn. We're doing $15 million a year in revenue with $8 million in EBITDA, and we're thinking about doing a Series A. And I'm just like, and Ariel's here. It's like, 15 million in revenue, $8 million in EBITDA, and you're going for your Series A. I said, what the fuck is this is a typo? And then there's like one or two more paragraphs about the business, and I was like, I've heard of Don, whatever. So I just hit reply, and I was like, you're thinking about a Series A, but you already have 15 million in revenue. If this is correct, when can we meet? And then they hit reply, we're in town on Thursday. I said, great, meet me at Fang. I'll have lunch with you on Thursday. I met with them on Thursday. I joined the board on Thursday afternoon. I negotiated the stock package, and then I helped them raise their Series A and Series B, and just went to work. Like, if you have the nuts, show the nuts. Like, we have it. Like, anybody here play poker? Like, if you flop the nuts and like the person's all in and you're all in, like, you don't slow roll it. You're not like, by the way, quads. You should get punched in the face. Right? Like, we will play with you. Like, if you have the nuts, be like, listen, I got a fucking ace-king suited here. I think this is a pretty good hand. We got 3 customers. Here's what they say. Our NPS score is this. I'm going to reply. So my job is to figure out, like, oh my God, there's all these fucking tourists. They're not going to be here next year or the year after when the market corrects. Like, I can't waste my time on all these fucking tourists who are not serious about the business. So I'm just trying to, like, is this person a tourist? Are they serious? Are they going to be here next year? Are they going to grind it out? Are they getting better? Do they have revenue? You can show that by, like, here's my product. This guy in the back's like, I've emailed you 7 times. Remember I emailed you this, this, and this? And I'm like, yes, I do remember that, actually, because you had numbers in there, and you had, like, progress, and you had customers, and I said, like, hey, here's how much give me another 3 months of data, and yeah, I might be interested in investing in your IT training company, which sounds incredibly boring. But this guy is such a dogged entrepreneur who's got 40K in revenue last month, that I'm just thinking, God, he's got 40K in revenue. If I add a 0 to that, man, yum yum. It makes some money.
I have to keep this on the timeline here.
You do?
I apologize. 2 quick questions, and then I gotta kick you out. Perhaps you wanna stay,
Sure.
chat with folks on the other
Of
side
course.
of the wall? Okay, 2 quick questions, yes, sir.
Is there a speaker after this?
There's.
Okay, sorry.
It should be very quick. If you have the nuts, what's your email?
Jason@launch.co. And then you get it, and there's a thing that says, like, this email is like, gets 500 emails a day, like, if it's super important, talk to these people, but I get it. But it's like, that's my little bounce email that, like, gets rid of the people who are tourists. But I read it, yeah, sure. Jason@launch.co.
I bugged him on that email to get him here. We've never met before, so what it's worth. Okay, one more question, please.
Yeah, I've noticed that your portfolio looks a little light on the fintech. And you mentioned you meet with a lot of very smart people.
Yeah.
Could you use the fintech company and the #1 mortgage originator in the U.S. and solve the real
A question and a pitch.
Let me summarize this question. I am an awesome founder. Will you give me your money and let me use your name to raise even more sums of money? The answer is, email me your traction and let's talk. I am actually an early investor in a company called Wealthfront. And I fired Alliance Bernstein, and Wealthfront manages my money. And so I believe in fintech. I think it's going to be big. And so, yeah, we should talk, for sure. Hey, listen, this was real. If you ever want to come to one of my events, come. It's free. You're my guest. If you see me on the street or like in a restaurant, don't be weird. Like, just high-five me. Be like, hey, what's up, dude? I love this episode of This Week in Startups. And if you find a company that's breaking out, and that's going to be huge, like it's a really great company, it's going to be huge. Like, not run by losers. Like, just give me that, just email me like, Jason, I think this is the next Thumbtack or Uber. That's all I ask. Seriously, come to everything I do for free, everything I do, like, try to be super open about it. All I ask is that you email me when there's a fucking winner. Like, but don't email me a tourist. Like, don't email me if you're an investor. Like, I'm not investing in this company. By the way, it's the worst piece of advice anybody ever got. If you go to a meeting with an investor and they don't invest, ask them to send you to 3 more investors. I always tell people, if I don't invest and I send you to 3 more investors, do you realize that's a negative signal? Jason didn't invest. You shouldn't either. Like, you're better off coming in through the front door than sending somebody who rejected you. Because the person was saying to me, why aren't you investing? I'm like, it sucks. It's not a good company. It doesn't look good. There's no traction. Anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you, Jason. If you've got some access.